So the Honorable Cyril Svoboda, thank you very, very much for having come. It's an honor to have you here at the Institute for Cultural Diplomacy, and we really welcome the opportunity now to exchange with you some views and perspectives on issues of diplomacy, cultural diplomacy, and beyond. Thank you for coming.
Thank you so much. I'm really honored because I was impressed meeting your president, meeting you, and I'm impressed by everything you are doing because I think that there is a real need for cultural diplomacy because we need to understand each other. And the new phenomenon, which is very important even in Europe, is that there are many different cultures. And we need to understand each other. As you have said, the question of trust is based on knowledge.
No, I agree, and I think you're a man, I think it's very safe to say, who knows diplomacy. 5 times having served as minister for your country, Minister of Foreign Affairs as well. You're now the director of the Diplomatic Academy of Prague. I'd like to ask you a simple question with, I think, sometimes a complex and many different answers. What is cultural diplomacy, and how do you see cultural diplomacy within the broader framework of diplomacy?
I think that it is very important because, you know, in my view, diplomacy is not a professionality which is to be in the hands of the professional diplomats. We can see very rapid and profound change and development, for example, the Arab Spring, for example, and the other changes are so profound, and the global scene has been changed dramatically. And now it is obvious that there are new entities which are very important for the communication using internet, websites, so the social networks. We are now penetrating to the different regions, cities, states, and we need cultural diplomacy for mutual understanding, for creating the environment of trust and cooperation.
Okay. And to take that question a step further, in your opinion, how can cultural diplomacy help to strengthen the European identity?
It's very important because, you know, for example, in Europe, there are a lot of Muslims, for example. Today, 44 million people who declare themselves as Muslims, and according to the data, maybe within 15 years it will be 60 or 48 millions. And some people are afraid what will be the future development of Europe, and maybe this is a source of some antagonism or tension inside Europe. But we need to understand each other. Look, the problem of Europe, in my view, is that, for example, we are saying that we have a Christian values or Christian culture or Christian religion. But in my view, the values, they have no direct implication or influence on our daily life. But there are some communities in Europe which are respecting different values or different principles, and their principles, values, religions, they have direct influence on their daily life. So, and there's a gap. And we need to do something for harmonizing the society and for overcoming the complication, gaps, or barriers or obstacles.
So you could say there maybe Europe is not practicing what it preaches as it could, or to the extent that it
Yes.
could. But excellent. To stick with the European theme, what is your position regarding the reasons for the current European economic challenges, and what collective solutions are available?
So I am deeply convinced that Europe is strong enough to overcome the current crisis. Greece is a crisis, but Greece represents 3.5 European GDP. It is like in my country, if we have a problem with the city of Liberec, it is one city in the Czech Republic. Czech Republic is strong enough for solving the problem of city of Liberec. But the problem is the question of behaving and the responsibility, and in my view, identity. So the problem of Europe is that the political elite has a real problem with self-identification, with concept of Europe, of European integration. So in my view, so this is a question of behavior, of behaving. So it is not a question of financial or economic. Of course, so of course there is a crisis, but generally speaking, we need to change the behaving of the people.
Okay. One country that's been struggling for a long time with that question of really do they belong to this European identity is, of course, Britain. What is your opinion on the British position regarding the EU as presented earlier this week by the British Prime Minister?
Being totally independent, I understand the British position, but I do not support it, and I do not share the views, the British views. Maybe I understand that there's a question of Commonwealth. Maybe there's a different tradition. Maybe there's a splendid isolation of Britain. Maybe there's a British channel as a mental channel between United Kingdom and the rest of the EU. But generally speaking, it is the question of British weakness, not. It is not the signal of the strong position. In my view, strong leader like Tony Blair was very active in Europe, trying to realize the real British influence inside European Union. In my view, it's better. It is easier to say to the people, we will organize the referendum about the future membership in EU. It is very easy because you put your responsibility on your voters. But the real leader, in my view, is to say we are inside and we have a new concept how to transform or how to develop Europe because we stick together. So, and in my view, the question of courage is to stick together, not to destroy the current concept.
Okay. One more question before I give my colleague a chance. I'll also ask a few questions. Since you're coming from the Czech Republic, what benefits the Czech Republic enjoy today from its historic decision to adopt the Lisbon Treaty? And what is the current opinion of the majority of the public of the Czech Republic regarding this historic decision?
It's a good question, particularly for my country, because in my country there is a paradox. Former government signed the Lisbon Treaty, and we had a problem with the ratification, not because of the opposition. The opposition fully supported the Lisbon Treaty, but because of the position of those who signed, those who negotiated, signed. So they were against, or they played very negative role during the process of ratification. I think that we are taking very solid benefit for being EU member state, and I guess that if there is a referendum in my country, we will say yes, because people they do not believe that it would be good for the Czech Republic to leave the EU. So generally speaking, we have very strong pro-European feelings in the society, despite the position of some politicians who are playing very strange role, so saying no or saying so soft no to the EU.
Well, now we would like to pose questions about multiculturalism.
Yes.
As a state of society, what do you think? How does multiculturalism affect the development of a society generally? and also maybe concrete examples. And if, according to your opinion, if multiculturalism threatens citizenship or national identity and cultural roots of...
Yes, you know, Europe is a strange continent composed of 47 countries of different size, different languages, and as Umberto Eco said, the language of Europe is translation. And what happened in the past? No one was strong enough to unify Europe by force. Napoleon failed, Hitler failed, Stalin failed, everyone failed, because it was not possible to unify or to integrate Europe by force. And nearly also the very difficult task is a different, the opposite task, to unify Europe by democratic tools, voluntarily, so by the will of people, so by the integration we are trying to realize. And multiculturalism is very important for the understanding in Europe. In my view, it is not, the multiculturalism is not hammering you. I guess that we need to understand each other. And I am going back to the sentences I said. So this is the question of the identification of the people with the European values and with European culture. So, you know, the fact that we have the Kurdish minority, the Islam minority, the other minorities in Europe, this is the fact. And we need to encourage people to accept the phenomenon in positive way. If it is not the case, the radical forces will gain. Some radical extreme right forces or extreme left political forces will gain. So we can see some radicalization of some forces in some countries, like in Netherlands, of course in France, and in some other countries. So, and in my view, we need to encourage people to take everything in positive way.
Okay.
And do you think, as we are talking about the democratic values, do you think if there is a requirement for these democratic values to change, maybe even in a system of law, in order to incorporate multicultural values as a maybe as a confrontation with Islam?
Yes. So, in my view, nothing like the crisis of values does exist. Values are not in crisis. I have no right to kill you because you have right you have a right of protection of your life. But if I kill you, so I betray the value or the principle. So the question is, so to what extent the behaving of people is in the full conformity with the basic and fundamental values. So that's why when I am speaking with my students, I don't use the thesis that there is the crisis of values. The values are valid. But there is a crisis of behavior. So we need to change our style of thinking, style of behaving. So that's the challenge, and that's why we need a cultural diplomacy.
So I'm happy to hear that you don't have the right to kill her. The question I'd like to go into is what is the expectation of Europe? Not only that you don't kill her, but is the expectation that you tolerate her, or is the expectation that you embrace her? And what I mean, I wanted to ask you a few questions in particular about Islam and the Middle East. The United States were very much known for this analogy of sort of the melting pot, where the expectation is everyone sort of melts together into this boring grey soup. And I don't know about you, but I don't really like grey soup. It's not so tasty. There's the other analogy, very famous in Canada, of a mixed salad, where one has really all of these vegetables mixed together, but at the end, a tomato is still a tomato, a carrot is still a tomato, and it's mixed together into a healthy snack. And I think there, as we ask these questions about multiculturalism, about integration, I think it's important to think, what is it really that matters in the end? What is the goal in the end? Are we trying to create a gray soup for Europe? Are we trying to create a mixed salad? Is religion important? Is it unimportant? Is it part of our identity? Is it sort of a second component? The first question I wanted to ask you is, in your opinion, are Islamic values and beliefs an obstacle to integration, or are they a driving force towards an integrated multicultural society?
In my view, the religion plays very important role because those who are taking seriously the religion, so they are respecting some values, some style of living, some style of behaving, and they do represent today minority inside European society. The majority is secular. The majority does not understand. So why such a strange people, like some, I don't know, some Muslims, some Jews, some Christians, why they are so different? Why they are not like we, like majority? And in my view, the minority is stronger. And the problem in Europe is that the majority is fearing, because I think that those who are honest, they do understand that those who are taking some values, some principles, or some religions are taking seriously, that they are better prepared for life. They are ready to overcome some problems and obstacles. So, going back, the problem is between secularism and religion. And those who do represent in a positive way, the religion as something important for their life, they are stronger, but at the same time they do represent today very small minority. So in my view, the way how to help Europe is to encourage people to take some values, some principle, and if the religion, of course, seriously, to change our life and to respect the fact that we are rich, that we are in an open, prosperous, and democratic society. That is a very important advantage. The rest of the world is not living in the same conditions, and we have to be attractive for people in Egypt, Iran, Iraq, for them to help them to live or to share our values and to deem one day to have the same life like we have today. But I think that we are bad example for many countries, because whenever I read the speeches of Mahmoud Ahmadinejad and some other representatives of Islamic countries, so they are accusing us from many faults. And generally speaking, I must say that they are right. They are, of course, generally they are not right, because they do not represent open, democratic, and prosperous society. They are not tolerant. But some part of the description of the European society are right. So this is the question of abortion, divorce, the crisis of family, the crisis of trust, the crisis of human relations, etc., etc. So Europe has to do a lot with itself.
So in that sense, it sounds like within the European context, you would actually see faith as an asset as opposed to a liability, no matter what that faith is.
Hmm.
Excellent. Let's move, since you were mentioning Iran, let's move from Europe to also Europe's relationship with the Middle East. And in particular, what is your position regarding Iran's nuclear arms, taking into account its potential danger for the stability and peace of the Middle East?
My answer is yes. It is dangerous for the peace. In my view, there is a permanent competition, and Iran wants to become a real regional leading country. So it is I think this is the goal of which has to be achieved by Iranian political elite, and the nuclear program really is dangerous, because the problem is not the fact of the existence of the weapons of mass destruction, but the question is who is owner, who is in what type of hands the program is. So that's why we need to stick together. We need to negotiate. We need to demonstrate our force, that we are capable of defending ourselves. So I am taking the recent development in Iraq very seriously.
Okay. Final question related to the Middle East. What is your position regarding the statements in the Middle East peace process? What can and should the EU offer in order to promote a peace process between Israel and Palestine?
It's a very delicate and complicated question, because I can demonstrate the chaotic position on a resolution on Palestine on the General Assembly, which was passed last year. Look, just de facto 4 countries supported Israel. Israel, United States, Canada, Czech Republic. Europe was divided. 14 countries abstained, 12 supported the resolution. And the President, Herman Van Rompuy, when he addressed General Assembly, he said that the European policy is stable. So it's not stable, it's divided. And the question is very important. What has happened? Why countries like Germany, Netherlands, United Kingdom, Denmark, Poland, some traditional supporters of the state of Israel decided not to support Israel and abstaining in the process of voting? Something has happened, and in my view, it is a question of the leadership. So the question is, to what extent the United States is a really leading nation today from the global point of view. And something has happened in Maghreb region, and we have to take it in our consideration very seriously, because Israel is the only democratic country in the region, from my point of view. So I am happy for the position of my country, but we have to maybe to change the Czech position, because something is new. So we are not ready to betray the state of Israel. Definitely not. Definitely not. It is not possible. It is not possible. But maybe there's a fear not to lose the chance of investment in some Arabic countries. Maybe this is the fear of Islam, or the existence of Islam in Europe. I don't know how to answer the question, but the resolution is really very challenging, and I am happy for the stability of the Czech position, of course. And I fully support the decision of the Czech government, but something has happened.
Well, it looks like there's a lot of work ahead of us for the Diplomatic Academy as well as for the Institute for Cultural Diplomacy. But I'd like to extend our gratitude once again to you for having come to visit us in Berlin, to have the chance to have this dialogue. And we very much look forward to the collaboration that will hopefully come.
Thank you so much, and I'm looking forward for cooperating with you. We have nice students in Prague, and I believe that we can do something which could be profitable for not only for both institutions, but for Europe, for the new generation.
Well, we welcome the opportunity with open arms. So thank you again very much for having us.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you.